So my name is James. I was born in Minnesota, but I grew up in Japan. I've lived in Japan for almost 10 years in total. I started out as an actor, but I became a dancer, I became a stuntman, I became an acrobat, a circus performer, and I performed internationally for about 10 years. And for about 6 of those years, I was a director and a producer of shows. So I've directed either circus shows or cultural shows, but usually a mix of both in, I think, 12 countries now. So these are countries, majority between Turkey in the west and Tokyo in the east, and many of the countries in between. So especially in South Asia, Southeast Asia, East Asia, a little bit in some of the Middle Eastern countries and in Northern Africa, a little bit in Canada, some in Russia, and in the former Soviet states. And for me, what's really interesting is working with people who really have spent their life studying some of these cultural pieces. So I've worked with, like, for example, the dancers in northern or northwestern India or South India, and seen completely different aspects of these cultural forms that at the same time have something very close in common. And it's been very rewarding to me to get to work with these artists and learn a lot from what they're bringing to the stage. And I feel that every time I work together, even if it's like most of you, just being on the same stage together at different points in the show, there's something about that culture that gets transmitted and that you always keep inside of you as you move forward. So I think that sharing these cultural experiences is something that's really essential for understanding each other in this world. And at Wharton, we talk so much about how to work in a globalized world, and we talk very superficially about developing real cultural understanding. And I think that WICS is a chance for us to really do that in a meaningful way. It may just look like a show to everyone else, but I believe that every act coordinator is really developing a lot of strong cultural bonds. And so I really appreciate the work that you guys do in all of this. So the way that I've found works very, very efficiently in trying to come up with transitions is to think geometrically and visually. Okay? The first exercises that we're going to do are going to seem ridiculously simple. They're going to seem like first grade exercises. But what's important is to understand that complexity is not the same thing as creativity. Okay? In many ways, moving from one simple shape to another simple shape in a very efficient manner is going to be something that the audience will respect a lot, because audiences are emotional beings. Okay? Act coordinators and choreographers have a tendency to be very intellectual. So you'll be trying to solve problems and trying to say, how do I make this more interesting, etc., etc., which is funny because that's not the way the audience responds at all. They just see shapes, they see forms, and like a child, they just respond to it in a completely emotional sense. So in a sense, the more simple things are, the easier it is for them to react to it, because you're not switching their mind on, you're just asking them to stay open at the level of the heart. I know that sounds a little bit esoteric, but if you give the audience too much to think about, you risk them saying, oh, wait a minute, I don't understand this, or, oh, they tried to do this, but there was a little bit of a mistake. If you just make these things happen very simply, they're going to ride with you 100% of the way. So I'm going to introduce for you guys 3 ideas, and we're going to actually get up and we're going to move and do them. The first idea is a cloud formation that we're going to do, which is sort of the base. And then we're going to do a shape formation, starting from a circle, but we're going to move into a couple of other shapes. And then I'm going to show you a couple of different line formations that we do. That's phase 1. We're going to spend about 20 minutes doing that. And then we're going to spend about 40 minutes, well, 20 minutes, working on different transitions and how to find contrast. And the very last 20 minutes is going to be, we'll cut the group in half, 5 and 5. Each one of you are going to choose a shape, and you're going to, together as a group, figure out how you're going to transition from shape to shape. So we have 3 things to do. There may be some questions, but I think a lot of this is going to be clear just as we start working. So unless you have any major questions, what I'm going to need to do is get these mats folded up and stacked against the wall over there. And then we're going to cut the space in half, and I'll leave everybody on stage.